This is part 2 of our conversation with science fiction and fantasy writer Hannah Greer. Stay tuned to hear how Hannah's story, The Way the Stars Glow, won publication in the short story collection titled Unmoored, Worlds of Pure Chaos from Fictionate Me Publishing. We also discuss the growth and power of flash fiction and drabble writing, and we'll hear a short piece of Hannah's brilliant storytelling. This is the Brewing Fiction Podcast.
So going back to our Unmoored anthology, you won second place with your amazing story called The Way the Stars Glow. I have probably read that story like 10 times at this point, just reading it, from the submissions and then going through all the editing and then just reading it again when I got the book just to read it again because it's so good. There's so much in that story that we as the editors loved, and I'm sure your readers too. There's so much beauty there and so much hope in the face of what you could see as possible despair because of Roxva, what she has to do. So can you tell us, first of all, tell readers what this story of The Way the Stars Glow is about?
So it's about Roxa and Sachi, who are two beings from very different worlds with different beliefs and morals. Roxa finds herself in a dilemma when her home needs a new, viable planet to consume in order to continue to exist, but she finds life, aka Sachi, on the perfect planet for her world to consume. So that's just a brief little overview about what the story will be about.
Right. And so in the theme for the Unmoored anthology, the authors had to bring together contrasting elements. So we definitely had the science fantasy there. But in Hannah's story, one of the things I loved was, these space travelers who are looking for planets to consume for their mother's shit. But then you land on this planet and then you suddenly have fairies and it's so magical. And you go to this, everything's high tech. And then you switch to these beautiful fairies and this beautiful underground community that thrives there. And it's just so, so endearing and magical. What was your inspiration for this besides the prompt for the contest, obviously? What prompted this story about a planet, this sort of these people that need to consume other planets to survive and this beautiful little life form that she finds?
So I think I wanted to explore how two different alien cultures would kind of clash, because it kind of fit into the theme really well with the sci-fi fantasy theme. Because sci-fi, you kind of have a picture in your mind about what standard sci-fi is. It's high tech, space aliens, that kind of stuff. And then fantasy is a little more relaxing, fairies and all that kind of stuff. And so since the sci fantasy is kind of clashing, I wanted to see it clash with the cultures and the characters and how that struggle would kind of come across.
And it was perfect because we see that so much now with the war between technology and nature. I don't know how many listeners, I'm sure you guys love nature too. Most animal lovers do. Love nature, need to disconnect from all this technology, but at the same time, we love our technology. It makes life so much easier. So we're constantly at war with this, a whole idea. And Hannah's story just so brilliantly encapsulated that. And besides just being such a wonderful idea, Hannah's writing style is so, I don't know how to describe it. It's amazing. When you read Hannah's work, you know it's Hannah. It's like you have a very strong voice to your work, So in a blind, story off, I might say, I know this is Hannah's writing. You have a very, very specific way of writing.
Thank you. That's good to hear.
Highly recommend. Yeah. So anybody out there listening, highly, highly recommend. We have the link on the website to the Unmoored anthology. 25 amazing stories in there. Hannah's is the second one in there. Our second place winner. It was so, so beautiful. So highly recommend that. And when you purchase this book, 100% of the proceeds stay right with us and the publisher to help us pay our authors and give them nice little swag prizes and to help grow. So we know you have at least 2 WIPs in the background.
Oh, yes.
So tell us about what you're working on now. What do we have to look forward to from Hannah Greer?
Oh, okay. So I'm publishing on Medium, like we kind of mentioned before. I started doing that earlier this year, and I've been really enjoying it because I do a lot of drabbles on there. And that means I get to explore a lot of random ideas and concepts without committing a ton of time to them.
Exactly.
Because, yeah, that's one of the problems. I just have so many ideas.
Yes.
But you can't get to all of them. And some of them, once you write a drabble, you're like, well, that was enough. And some of them, you're like, well, this could have a bit more.
Yeah.
So it's really good for that. And I actually had 4 of the drabbles I wrote for Medium accepted as reprints into anthologies recently. So
cool.
Those will be coming out at some point.
So you submitted those, Hannah. How did you choose those 4 specifically from your list? I was looking at your Medium, and you've got, I don't know, maybe 100 or so stories on there. How did you choose those 4 specifically? Or did you choose all 100 and the 4 were chosen?
Well, I actually submitted quite a few more than the 4.
Okay.
The 2 anthologies, one was military sci-fi and one was fantasy short fiction.
Gotcha.
And they were drabble anthologies. So
cool.
I just picked the 3. I had 3 for the military sci-fi, and I think I had like 10 or 12 that I submitted for the fantasy one. And these are just the 4 that got accepted. The rest got rejected.
Nice.
And I do think these were probably the best that I'd submitted. So it works out.
That's really cool. And that's cool that you found drabble anthologies. Because, it felt like for so long that drabbles were such a kind of a niche thing, but I don't know. I feel like on Medium, it's really starting to explode. And
yes, it is everywhere on there.
I agree.
It is. And I always tell authors, if you feel overwhelmed by trying to start by writing like a novel, 100,000 words, or even a short story that's 10,000 words, 5,000 words, it's a lot. And, 100 words, you start there and you can really blossom. And one of my longer short stories that I first wrote, when I first started writing short fiction, I wrote it in drabble parts or drabble chapters. So it was a longer story, but I made it through it by, I can, this one section, 100 words, I can do this. And then before I knew it, I had a full story. So I love that.
Oh, that's really cool.
I'll have to look up some more like drabble anthologies to share with other people too, because there's a whole lot of us out there now.
Yeah, me and a couple of my friends are putting together like a spreadsheet of drabble anthologies, drabble markets, and
cool.
microfiction markets. So once we finish that, I can like maybe send y'all the link to include or something.
Yeah, for sure. Because I do have a spreadsheet too of so many different publications. I've just never like filtered out just the flash fiction. And those are the ones that I love to submit because, like you said, it's quick. A lot of those you can submit more than one. As well.
Yeah. And it seems to be the trend right now. So let's jump on the wagon while it's going by.
Yeah. Yeah. And people don't have a whole lot of time to read anymore. And so these little tiny nuggets, little story nuggets are really great. And
they are,
so it really works. That's really cool. So congratulations on getting all of those new stories accepted. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah,
so
it's
much
exciting,
to look forward
especially because there's not as many magazines and stuff that accept reprints. So whenever you can find one of those, it's really nice.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, and a lot of magazines won't even take reprints. So when you do find them, it's always, I would say at least half, maybe 50-50. Half do, half don't. And I came across a magazine the other day that actually tells you get your story published elsewhere and we'll reprint it as a reprint because we can't pay you as much as other magazines.
Oh,
so they
that's
were like,
interesting.
They were like totally honest about it. I was like, wow, okay. So I thought that was kind of cool, kind of different.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So speaking of Medium, you've recently been added to the editing team of the Fiction Writers Den. So how has that editing experience been for you as a writer? How does that benefit your own writing, being an editor?
I think it helps in the same way that reading intentionally helps you become a better writer, because you're paying attention to the different details and what kind of effect they create in you as a reader.
Mm-hmm.
And that can then you can kind of figure out, like, why are you feeling this way about this scene, or what is this doing? And then it can help you apply it to your own writing to become a better writer. And you can also just spot like pitfalls that you kind of want to avoid.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see that in our own work. But when you start to edit a lot for other people, I've noticed sort of themes, like things that a lot of authors seem to, like you said, pitfalls.
Yeah.
And then I see those recurring pitfalls. And then when I'm writing, I catch myself more, so I won't make those same pitfalls, if that makes
Right.
sense.
It does.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask that question. It must help you recognize pitfalls that everybody or a lot of people use, more obvious when you see it 100 times, to avoid it yourself.
Yeah. I think having fresh eyes on a piece versus your own piece, which you've already read like 5,000 times.
Yeah, that's the first line 5,000 times, and then we do the same for line 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's always really great to have that fresh set of eyes on your work. So, do you have like a critique partner or someone that you reach out to, a good bit to give you feedback on your work, Hannah?
Yes. So I actually have there's a Discord community that the magazine that I was very first published in has, and it's a really great community where you can find critique partners, and a lot of these people are like published authors and they know what they're doing. So I've been able to find critique partners who are like way better than me, which is what, I mean, you kind of want, because then they can help you learn, and they can help you grow just by critiquing your work.
Yeah.
And that community is also really helpful because we encourage each other, because I mean, writing and publishing can be a bit isolating. I'm sure you guys have noticed that.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's really important to have like a community, especially like when you're getting so many rejections, but then you see, oh, but this author I really admire is also getting a ton of rejections. So it's just normal for that to be happening. That's part of the process. And it helps with that self-doubt, because it's just so normal. No one really cares. I mean, we care. We always care. But you're able to rationalize yourself out of that.
Yeah. And that's a good point too. Even our favorite authors, the ones that, make a living doing this, they've been rejected hundreds of times, and we just have to keep remembering that and keep plugging away at it. Yeah. And it's good that you have a community that, where you can find people who are, like you said, like way ahead in their journey, so they can help you grow where you are now. So that's really great.
Yeah, and then of course I try to help people when I can. If I'm ahead in my journey, give them tips and critiques and everything. And even sometimes if you feel like someone's a better writer, sometimes you can still have insights about their specific stories and stuff, because it's just good to get fresh eyes on a piece.
Right.
And different insights, different perspectives will always be helpful.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's great advice for a new writer. I think for me, I need to get to that point where I'm comfortable sharing. Medium has helped a lot.
But
I like to have a critique partner or a group to talk about your writing and be able to share ideas, not just for feedback on how is the idea, but to actually learn from it. I'm hoping that a lot of listeners are going to take some advice, because I know for me, I'm afraid to open up and share.
Yeah, because writing's really personal, so it can be really hard to like take that first step. And especially if you don't have critique partners already that you trust.
Exactly.
Then you're just giving it to a random person, and it's like, I don't know about that.
The good thing about Medium is that it's a very supportive community. From my experience, I've never had any negative experiences on there at all. With people, just the bots. I think that's the only, but like the actual humans are very kind and supportive, and I think it's a good place to start growing an audience that you can kind of funnel into maybe your longer works like novels and things.
Yeah.
So as a writer, what gets you into the zone when you're ready to sit down for a nice long writing sesh? What gets you in that zone?
That's a really good question. So I kind of just I'm thinking about my stories ahead of time and trying to get in the zone before I'm even sitting down because I'm a
Yeah.
planner, so I kind of know what my day is going to look like and I know when I'm going to be writing. And I have whatever project I'm going to work on, I've already planned that by like the night before. So by
Hmm.
the time I'm sitting down, I know what I need to do, which helps
Yeah.
because then you're not just staring at a blank screen.
Right.
Um, I might do some little things like just check Discord or check my submissions, see how those are looking, see if there's anything else I want to submit before I start writing, just like little desk work before then getting into it. But like I've been thinking about it before I even sat down, which helps a lot, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that does help. And I'm the same way because I always kind of know when I'll be writing, sort of like for the most part every day. Like before that, I'm writing in my head so that when I do sit down, I know where to go. Now, a lot of times I will sit down and I know where to go and just can't get
You
there.
can't get there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Especially if it's like a project I've been procrastinating and not enjoying as much, then it's like,
Yes.
do I really want to be doing this with my time?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've kind of been at that point with a story. I have a deadline. It's actually next Friday, but I've got to get it in before that because that's when our flight leaves. And so I've got to get it in before. And I wrote this story and I'm like 2,500 words in. And then I'm like, you know what? I hate this. And I started
Oh
completely over Friday,
no!
just completely started over on a brand new story. I
Oh
went
dear.
from science fiction to fantasy, complete 180, but it's actually going a lot better. And I already
Yeah.
know how the whole story is going to go. And this other one, I
Oh, well,
was
that's
really, even though
great.
I had planned it out, I was still just really struggling with this. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I just wasn't enjoying it, like you said, and I kept procrastinating, doing all this stupid shit that
Hmm.
I didn't need to be doing. So,
That's great
Yeah.
advice
yeah,
to always have that story on the back burner because you may get to a point where either you can't proceed because if you're unsure where the turn is taking you, or you just hate your story, which
yeah, I
right?
think it was just, I think it was just, I knew that I wouldn't be able to get it told in the way I wanted to tell it in that word count. It was
Yeah.
way too
Yeah.
Mm,
small.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think it's just way too big of an
Okay.
idea. And so
Gotcha.
it's going to, stay in my files and I'll come back to it to submit because I have a lot of magazines in my to submit to pile. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it will go somewhere and hopefully find a home
Interesting.
at
Hmm.
some point.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes you just need to take a break and work on something else,
Something different.
or
Yeah.
like
yeah,
even completely restart. I've definitely done that before. Just
yeah.
need a
And I
reset.
was a total reset. And, you know, I guess sometimes I do work better under pressure. I know I did in college because of I would always wait to the last minute to write my papers.
Yeah.
So maybe writing this right here at the end at the deadline, it'll end up being a good story. Just I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that can definitely happen. Sometimes just having a deadline, and then at least you'll have a story done. That's good too.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's always a great feeling, and I can always, use that idea for something longer later too.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have like a specific writing routine, or do you just write whenever you have a minute?
I don't really have a specific writing routine because my schedule kind of changes by the day, and I do the combat sports, so that's usually training in the evenings and stuff. So I don't really have that time on days I work. So that might mean that like I just don't write at all on days when I work and train. But then
Hmm.
when days I'm off, I might write like pretty much the whole day. It definitely depends on what else is going on in my life, and I fit
Yeah,
writing in the free spots around that.
yeah,
And I feel like that works for me because I don't write every day, but I still write a lot each week, so it averages out. I feel like.
Hmm.
yeah.
I think it also helps avoid getting burned out if you're like forcing yourself to write when you really don't have the time or energy.
Yes,
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I see so much advice saying that you should write every day to get better. And I just don't agree with that. And like you,
No.
I don't write every day. And some days I just, it's just not going to happen. But, you can find little things to do. Like you said, just really write on the days you have the time to do it, or maybe just doing little things here and there in those little moments when you
Yeah.
have that time. And it all adds
Hmm.
up. It really
It
does.
does. Yeah.
So I would love, not just me, we would all love to hear an excerpt from The Way the Stars Glow. So did you have an excerpt, like a little something you'd like to share from that story?
Yes, I did pick out a little bit. I feel like
Yay.
this section kind of encapsulates the clashing cultures that I was talking about, so that's why I picked
Okay.
it.
Awesome.
That's great.
I squint at the light and make out the small silhouette of a person with wings. Oh, it looks like a mini version of Sachi, but female, with wings flapping rapidly behind her. The glow she emits is a soft yellow. She must be some sort of fairy. I want to scoop her up and keep her in my pocket. She flutters onto Sachi's outstretched palm and lands in a sitting position. She angles her head at me and makes a chittering sound. She's so cute. Is she sapient? I reach a hesitant finger towards her. Sapient? What does that word mean? He holds her out to me. I lay one finger on her hair, and her chittering turns into a purr. It means a creature possesses awareness and consciousness, like they're intelligent beings. Sachi tilts his head, eyebrows scrunching. Doesn't that describe all creatures? Not on most planets. Does it describe all creatures here? All creatures here can feel. They can learn. I don't know how you would exclude any of them, he says as we walk. He holds up the little fairy. She can do all that. She's what we call a half-la. I purse my lips. Technically, even non-sapient beings can do what he described. But I'm not sure how to explain the term in a way he would understand, so I let it go.
Wonderful.
I love that.
That's one of the things I love so much about this story. Like you said, it's those clashing cultures. And I love Sachi's view of the world, that everything is sapient, everything can learn. And we're starting to actually discover that with plants now, and that plants feel and have emotions in a way that we never knew before.
Yeah, wow.
And so Sachi, that makes me think of that whole idea that everything is like a living, breathing organism around us. And it's such a beautiful sentiment, especially in our, technologically laden world, see nature that way. That is so beautiful. And, again, one of my favorite stories ever. So I highly recommend reading that one. And so anybody listening, if you want to check out that story, head to the Brewing Fiction website, and we have a lot of links there for Hannah. So you can check out all of her amazing work.
Thank you.
So where can listeners find all of your work? We do have all the links, but where are you publishing the most?
Well, I'm publishing a lot on Medium. My username there is at Hannah Writes and Reads. I also have a Blue Sky, which you can find me on at hannahgreer.bluesky.social. And that I just kind of, repost magazines and that kind of stuff, because there's a lot on there too. And then I also have a website, hannahgreer.card.co, where I keep updated with my publications and things that might be coming up and that kind of stuff.
Okay, great. Awesome. So how do you like using Blue Sky as a writer? I've heard of other authors going to that.
I like it. There's quite a few magazines and authors on there. I think there might still be more on Twitter, but a lot of them have shifted over or are doing both. So I was never on Twitter, so I just went straight to Blue Sky.
Yeah. I briefly tried Twitter, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah. I like Blue Sky because I don't really post that much on it, but I like to repost magazines I like or authors I like and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or if I have something coming out, I will post about that. But.
So do you have anything coming out really soon that we can look forward to? Do you have a set date for anything coming out soon? I know you have a lot on the horizon.
No, I don't have any set dates right now. I have a couple pro publications. Those will be my first. They'll be coming out hopefully later this year, but not a set date yet.
Okay, great. Well, we're looking forward to hearing about those too.
Keep an eye on those, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we really appreciate you coming by, Hannah, taking the time to talk to us. It was so great to finally talk to you after working with you for so long, and just getting to read your writing and getting to know you more as a person. For our listeners out there, head to our website to check out all of Hannah's links to her amazing work. She's also on Medium, where you can also find Keith Leonard and myself. We also publish on there as well. don't forget, when you're on Medium, go to the About pages for your favorite authors. You can read up on people like Hannah or Keith or myself, and to check out our other links to all the other stuff we've had published and things we have upcoming. So once again, Hannah, thank you so much for being here with us.
It's an open invitation, Hannah, to have you back on the podcast a little later when you feel that you have more success that you can share with the listeners. I think that's ultimately what we would like to offer our listeners is tips and tricks of how to navigate the writing world.
Right. And the world of publishing.
And publishing as well. Exactly.
Yeah. And we know how hard it is to promote as authors. Just this is one more channel for authors to do that on.
Yeah. Thank you.
It was a pleasure meeting you, Hannah, and Heather. Glad to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
And we will chat again soon.
Yeah, I've been enjoying the podcast a lot.
Awesome.
Great,
well,
thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Yeah, good.
Yeah, we
well,
really
there's
enjoyed
lots more coming.
meeting everybody. Yeah, we have a lot more. We're already into November booking.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, yeah, we've got a lot of people, and I think we could already book into next year if we kept going with it.
Well, with the lists that
awesome.
are currently not scheduled, we're well into the new year. Yeah, we just gotta iron out timing and stuff like that. And you're invited back, Hannah. Anytime. On the next episode of the Brewing Fiction Podcast, we have the privilege to host the dynamic husband and wife duo known as Double Blind. They are renowned for their award-winning lit RPG isekai adventure series, Everyone's a Cat Girl. Also, they are celebrated winners of the inaugural Fiction8 writing contest, from which they have become friends with co-host H.R. Parker. Join us on the next episode as we delve into the writing journey of Double Blind. Stop by the podcast homepage for links to today's guest and to see what else is brewing on the Brewing Fiction Podcast. You can find the links in the description. And don't forget to click the subscribe button to be notified whenever a new episode is released.